most deadly dictators in the world, you really can't be defeated easily. Unless, of course, you decide to do it yourself. In this video, we're taking a look at the last 24 hours of Hitler's life. About 77 years ago, Adolf Hitler decided to go down to his underground bunker and end his own life as his wife Eva watched him take his last breath. The decision brought an end to years of violence and war, with the Soviet soldiers emerging victorious as Germany failed to hold down the fort in the absence of the Great Fuhrer. But what made the dictator take a step as drastic as this? In the early few days of April 1945, Hitler thought he had won the war when U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt died. However, the high didn't last for long, as only 10 days later, one of Hitler's generals refused to lead a suicidal counterattack, saying that it was all over for Germany at this point, sending Hitler into a spiral. Once the dictator realized that there was no winning in this situation, his closest friends and companions knew that he had started to make plans for his eventual suicide. Starting from April 22, 1945, killing himself to escape the humiliation and defeat was all that Hitler could talk about. He soon permanently retired to his bunker, which was made up of two shelters connected to each other. The entire structure took around 8 years to build, and Hitler had moved into the lower bunker with his wife Eva, along with some other staff members in January earlier that year. But with the news of the defeat, he decided to make the place his final home, hanging his favorite paintings on the wall and covering his floors with expensive carpets. The only time he would come out was when he wanted to take an evening stroll in the gardens with his dog Blondie, but even that was denied to him when the Red Army attacked the capital, and it just wasn't safe for the German leader to be out anymore. However, on April 20th, Hitler woke up and went outside. The dictator was addicted to opiates and other drugs. By then that day, it was obvious that he had taken a much larger dose than the one prescribed to him. However, even as he was shaking from the drugs and of course his Parkinson's, the dictator went and handed out meals to the children of the Hitler Youth himself. After that, he retreated into his bunker and did not come out again. At this point, most of the Fuhrer's generals and soldiers had abandoned him, so he made a final attempt at ordering his forces to attack the Soviets, who had almost taken over his bases. But unfortunately, the army just wasn't strong enough to carry out his orders. When Hitler received the news of Benito Mussolini being captured and executed publicly, he knew that he did not want to meet the same fate, and that's when he decided to end his life. The day before he died, Hitler decided to marry his longtime partner Eva and went on to dictate his last will and testament, in which he blamed the Jews for Germany's defeat. Then it was time for the defeated dictator to take care of other matters. He called up his physician and asked him to bring 2 cyanide pills that he and Eva were going to take together. But to make sure that they worked, Hitler had the physician poison his dog Blondie first, and that of course ended up killing the poor animal. While Hitler usually got dressed first thing in the morning to get down to business as early as he could, this day he chose to remain in bed, fully clothed and drinking his woes away. For his last meal, Hitler had spaghetti along with a raisin and cabbage salad, his go-to meal. Once his dog died of the poisoning, Hitler and Eva retreated to their private quarters, where his wife took the cyanide pill. But for some reason, Hitler decided to go a different route and shot himself with his own service pistol. As soon as Hitler and his new bride were dead, their staff took them out to the Chancellery garden to burn their bodies as per Hitler's own instructions. In the middle of the cremation, the Soviet forces opened fire and started shelling the whole place. So, in a fitting manner, the enemies fired at the Chancellery, while Hitler chose to burn by his own flame and die on his terms, bringing an end to his brutal legacy. That's a wrap for the last 24 hours of Hitler's life. What do you think of how Hitler chose to spend his last day? See you next time with something new. And until then, goodbye.